So the other day in my live, I was asked a question by one of my subscribers asking me what discontinued fragrances I still wear all the time. And so I told him that I would do a top 5 list. So for that person, this is for you and for anybody else who is wondering what 5 fragrances that you can still find on discounters pretty easily for the most part, that I wear pretty much all the time that are discontinued. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. So without further ado, let's get it. What's going on, my great smelling dudes? Welcome back to my channel. As you guys know, my name is Randy, aka Fragrance Dude. Before we get into the video, as always, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and follow me on Instagram and TikTok, where I do center of the day posts, shorts, and all that good stuff. So again, today I am responding to a comment from my live, which I try to do as much as possible. They wanted to know what fragrances that are discontinued that I prefer, because they were talking about L'Eau de Parfum Bleu Electrique, which I don't think is necessarily worth a pickup for the price that you can find it in the US. If you can find it online on a discounter, I would definitely pick it up if you can find it like under 80 bucks, but I don't think it was warranted of the hype. But there are some that were warranted of the hype, and those are the ones I'm going to be talking about today. Most of these you can still find pretty easily on discounters, or you could go on eBay and find them for a decently good price compared to the other ones that might have been in these lines, stuff like that. So we're just going to get straight into it. The first one I was actually talking about on my live because this was the second one they were asking about. So I'm going to start out with it by Carolina Herrera. It is CH Men Prive. So if you haven't seen the bottle before, it's like a little flask that has this little thing. It's actually quite neat. You don't see many of these out there except for in this line. And then it looks like a darker fluid with the CH and CH backwards. It's kind of their logo. So this is a leather forward fragrance. It's warm, it's spicy, it has a little bit of a booziness running through it. It is actually quite fantastic. When I first smelled it, bought it off one of my subscribers, Eddie, that was getting, at least I think it was Eddie. I know I bought one from him, but I was buying something from somebody else at the same time. But I'm pretty sure I bought this from him. I didn't really like it that much because I didn't really give it a chance. It's a much more mature fragrance. I would say probably 30s and up, unless you are one of those younger guys that does like the more masculine fragrances. This one is a little bit darker, it's deeper. It again is leather forward, but for a leather fragrance, it's not like ombre leather that is really like 95% leather with a little bit of this and that. This one's about 60% leather. Then you get some of that whiskey in there. You get some aromatics, and then you also do get some spice, but that is kind of just roaming around in the background. It's not a super spicy fragrance. Again, you're just mostly focusing on that leather, the aromatics, and then that whiskey. The best part of this fragrance for me is whenever it gets into the dry down, when that leather and that woods and that whiskey tone down a little bit. And then you are stuck there with an ambery vanilla scent that has a little bit of the leather and the woods that are creeping in the background in the behind. And then you get a little bit of a musk underneath there, but it's mostly amber, woods, a little bit of vanilla. You get that leather under there, a little bit of whiskey, and spice. It's a warm, spicy leather fragrance that has that amber vanilla dry down. That's the best way to really put the fragrance. Again, this one lasts about 8 to 9 hours. It's going to be more of your fall and winter fragrance, or you can wear it nights out in the cooler nights of the spring and summer, but I would really say that this is more focused on spring, summer, winter. I would not usually wear it, or spring, fall, winter, not summer. I'm all over the place today. So that is CH Men Prive, my top fragrance that I like to wear, especially for nights out. It's definitely a night out fragrance. I wouldn't wear it outside of that. The next one, this entire line is discontinued except for the original and the cappuccino smelling one, which you can find those for about 60 bucks. This one is the only one from the line that is discontinued that is still found on eBay for a decently good price. I found this for 100 bucks probably 6 months ago on eBay. It took me about a week to find it, but if you can find it for that price, it's definitely worth it. This is by Mugler. It is Amen Pure Malt. So just like the name, it is malt. So if you guys don't know what that smells like, it is almost kind of like a wheat is what it smells like a little bit. It's not something that you have smelled before. It has a little bit of a boozy undertone from, I believe there's whiskey in this fragrance, but it's very undertoned. A lot of people go into this thinking malt as in booze, but it's just one of the things that are used in a lot of different booze, like beer and stuff like that. But with that said, so pure malt, I'm just going to spray that on my hand. You can't smell these from the tester. This is another warm, spicy fragrance that has that Mugler DNA, that kind of sweetness undertone. The amber and vanilla in this one, compared to the CH Men Prive, is a lot more pronounced. But you do get that malt and whiskey, or malt and booze that is really combining. You also do get a little bit of a spiciness and a little bit of woods. But for the most part, it's just that malt with touches of booze and musk. And then you get a lot of amber and vanilla to provide that sweetness. And then just like most of the Mugler Amen line, you get patchouli that floats through the entire fragrance. The musk in this is a little bit darker, and it comes in more prominent as you get to the dry down, as does the woods, the amber, and the vanilla. And that's when the malt goes more to the background, kind of like how the leather and the aromatics and woods go to the background with this one after about an hour and a half. This one, you get the amber and vanilla quicker, but then it becomes more prominent as the main portion, that malt. It just becomes a kind of side note that is just floating through the fragrance. As you get amber, vanilla, that DNA from the Mugler line. It still has, if you've ever smelled pure Havane, it does still have that smell. Almost like half of the ones from that line have that smell. So if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. I can't really explain it to you guys. It has this like kind of musty sweetness. But that's what you get in this, along with that malt, some aromatics, and then that amber and vanilla. So that is Mugler's Amen Pure Malt. I love to wear this, again, nights out, fall, winter, and it lasts on my skin for about 8 to 9 hours, just like the CH Men Prive. Sometimes it's a little bit less. It depends on how much I spray. Well, that's for anything. Going into one that you can pretty much find under $100 no matter where you look on. If you find it on a discounter, it's probably 50 or 60. If you find it on eBay, it's under 100. I only have the smaller version of it because I feel like that's all I really need. But I am going to get a bigger bottle because if it does go, and I see it going higher in price, I'm going to buy a bigger bottle. This is by Ralph Lauren. It is Polo Red Extreme. My favorite one in the line, and I mean by far. When they released this, I was just over the moon because they have the original, which was good, but synthetic. It's sweet, only lasts like 3 or 4 hours. Get that cranberry, slight coffee tinge. Then they had the EDP, which I don't really like, and with the Apopanax and stuff like that. Then they had Rush, which is a fresher take on the line, which is good actually. Doesn't compare to this, but it's good. Then they had the Parfum, which came out this year, which has reminiscence of that EDP that I don't like, mixed with this really weird absinthe note that I've smelled absinthe in fragrances before, and it's really weird in that fragrance. So I don't like that. That is my least favorite Polo Red fragrance. And then they had Polo Red Intense, which was discontinued. I've only smelled it once. It is more cranberry heavy, and I do like it. But this one is a coffee heavy fragrance. When you first spray it on, you get some blood orange in there, as you get in almost all the Polo Reds. It's kind of like the signature of the Polo Red line. I'm smelling the pure malt. So you do get that coffee in there. The coffee is surrounding the entire fragrance as you get that blood orange in the opening, providing this citrus sweetness. You do get some aromatics and some vanilla floating through, a little bit of a powdery undertone. But for the most part, this one is very simplified. It is a sweet coffee fragrance with a citrus and woody tone. That is really it. And it stays the same. It doesn't really change too much outside of getting a little bit more woody and sweet as you get to the dry down, and a slight bit softer. But it's a parfum and it lasts about 6 hours. I think that for a Polo Red fragrance, I think it's fantastic. It is my favorite designer coffee fragrance that's out there. If you've not tried it, definitely try it. It is fan-freaking-tastic. That's Polo Red Extreme. Just really good. If you like coffee fragrances, it's very subtle to the point where it's not like it's going to knock people's socks off, but it's one of those calming scents, kind of like tobacco and tonka bean. I love my calming scents. The ones that are just going to float through the air. It's going to provide wafts, but it's not going to push out too heavy, and it's going to leave you just... That's what Polo Red Extreme does for me. Going into the last two, and probably my favorite two from this list. I don't know, all of them are fantastic. By the way, Polo Red Extreme, I wear it all year round, but I would stay away from summer days, even though it's more of a fall and winter fragrance. I wear it when you like. I like wearing that in like the summer mornings when I'm inside the house and nighttime, but outside of that, I like wearing it fall and winter. This one I picked up last year for 46 bucks. It is Discontinued. It is a fantastic iris fragrance, probably my favorite iris fragrance. I mean, it is my favorite iris fragrance. Maybe that or Dior Homme Intense. This is by Prada. It is Prada L'HOMME Intense. It also has the black bottle from the line, which I really do dig. This fragrance is your powdery iris. It also has a mixture of leather. It also has an amber accord that when the iris mixes with the amber, it almost comes off this like sweet chocolatey vibe for a few minutes, and it's kind of interesting. But this one dials down because they mixed in that amber and a little bit of a spiciness to it. It really does meld together with that iris and gets rid of that makeup-y vibe that you get from a lot of the fragrances that people dislike or love, depending on what your style of fragrance is. This one, it adds this sweetness to it that isn't overly sweet. It still maintains that maturity level. And then it has that leather mixing in, so it kind of dissipates that sweetness while that sweetness takes away that makeup-y iris. The iris is still in there. It's just that powder is just dissipated because of that amber and faded more into the background, so you don't feel like you have that makeup style. That's why I love this fragrance. My wife hates powdery fragrances and iris fragrances altogether. Loves this. Loves this. This is an all year round fragrance to me. I think it's more of a night out fragrance during the spring and summer, during the fall and winter, again, anytime. This is more of your special occasion fragrance, but you can wear it pretty much whenever you want. Just be happy, wear your fragrances when you want. This one lasts 10 to 12 hours on my skin. It gets longer every time I wear it. Every time I wear it, it just gets more and more and more. The projection is above average for the first 2 hours. Then it becomes more of a personal bubble for the next 4, and then a skin scent after that. But I did smell it on my skin. I went down to work for 10 hours, and I got home, and I got in the shower, and right before I washed my hand, I smelled it, and I was like, yep, it's still there. Prada L'HOMME Intense. Just fantastic. Literally fantastic. I don't have anything negative to say about that fragrance. Prada made a masterpiece with that thing. It was like you had the rough draft, which was Prada L'HOMME. Then you had kind of like the final rough draft, which was Prada L'HOMME Leau. And then you had the final copy, which to me was this. It was just like their fall and winter style centric fragrance that has some leather and amber floating through it. Mwah. Last one here is not going to be a surprise to anybody. Stupid when they discontinued it. This is by Paco Rabanne, 1 Million Prive. Talked about it before. Some of these I have talked about, some of them I haven't really talked about. 1 Million Prive is fantastic. It is kind of like if you're up on the ski slopes and you're coming down and you go to the restaurant that you can ski up to, which around my area, I don't know if you don't have any ski resorts, you don't know what I'm talking about. And then you get yourself a nice cup of apple cider, hot apple cider that has a cinnamon stick sticking out of it. That's what this smells like, just more resinous. It is a cinnamon heavy fragrance. It smells like a cinnamon drink, an apple cider. It has this like resinous, almost honey factor to it that is just beautiful. It literally smells like fall. If you can think of fall in a bottle and you want somebody to smell you and tell you that's what you smell like, this is what it's going to be. They discontinued it, I guess, because it was more of a single season style fragrance, which I totally get, but still, it was a sad day in history when they discontinued this buddy. I'm not going to beat around the bush because I've talked about this. You guys know I love it. It's sad I can't wear it right now, but every once in a while I'll just spray it on my wrist just so I can smell it. Like I did that 2 days ago. I just sprayed it on my wrist, and I'll do it right now. Fucking A, dude. Oh, that cinnamon in there. There's some of that resins. Oh my goodness. There's almost like an apple-y vibe to it. It's so nice. Then there's some woods and vanilla that play a nice part in it. Fantastic fragrance. Let me know some of your favorite discontinued fragrances. Those are my favorites from my collection that I wear pretty much all the time. Those are more fall and winter. So now that we're getting out of that, they're pretty much not going to be able to be worn outside of maybe these two at night, or the CH Men Prive too. But it is what it is. Let me know if you've tried them before, if you agree with me, what other fragrances you would pick, and I'll be back with another video. So make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Peace out.